Previously, reborn as a crown prince in a land of fantasy, Haruto is discarded for being weak despite possessing great prowess that simply can't be measured. Time passes, and he saves the family of the man named Gold, who took him in. Not long after, Haruto fixes his strained relation with Gold's daughter Eka, his sister Charlotte, and humiliates the egotistical High Prince Laius in a duel. Under the moonlit castle, Haruto and Char watch surveillance feeds. Really taking a liking to these patrols, Char has basically swamped up her brother all to herself. She spots some suspicious-looking people, carrying huge sacks, running off into the night. Char calls out for Haruto, letting him know of what she saw. Right then, Flay comes stopping there, calling out for the boy. Having been told by the young lady that he has been going off on missions alone, she goes off on the poor guy and wants to tag along. While Char praises the maid for her continuous hard work, Haruto can't believe that even his missions are getting turned into a headache. He tries to put off Flay's request by reminding her of her responsibility, though it only backfires. The diligent woman has finished all her yard work, as well as the monster subjugation tasks she got assigned with for the day. Realizing that Flay has done everything he asked her to do, Haruto runs out of excuses. Hearing the two go back and forth, Char's eyes start to glimmer. With a childlike wonder in her eyes, she asks if Flay is here to become her brother's partner. The little girls of Taku's side takes over, signaling to Haruto that things are about to take a turn for the worse. Char begins going off about how in every story, a hero's partner comes to save the day whenever he is in trouble. In her fan fiction, Haruto's partner was Flay all along. Without showing even an ounce of fierceness possessed by her demon femme herself, the maid just bangs her chest in agreement. Despite coming up short compared to her master, Flay insists that everyone is aware of how helpful she is. Haruto tells the lady not to play along with Char, but eventually has to cave into the peer pressure of the girls and give up the fight. In a twist of fate that no one could have seen coming, living with a cute little sister and a voluptuous maid is turning out to be a pain. Afterwards, Haruto gives Flay a talking to. He strictly instructs her that there won't be even an ounce of graphic violence while Char is watching them. The boy does multiple takes to make sure he is heard, getting assured by the maid that there's nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, the group of robbers Char spotted earlier come to a stop deep within the forest. They gather their haul in one spot, excited of the feasts they will be having in the days to come. Suddenly, the robbers hear a mechanical voice asking them what they are up to. Looking towards its direction, the group panics and inquires who the voice belongs to. Revealing himself from the shadows, it is none other than Haruto in his ending-like disguise. "They call me Darker Than Darkness," he announces, proclaiming the arrival of the Black Knight. Of course, the declaration wouldn't have been complete without some flair and embarrassing poses to go along with the introduction. Confused by the demonstration, the robbers try to make sense of what's going on. Just then, Flay shows up there. Copying Haruto's full flow, word for word, bar for bar, she announces that they call her Redder Than Redness. The lady names herself the Crimson Knight, Flame Fenrir. Wearing a tight black latex suit and a mask that covers only her eyes, she makes the same embarrassing poses as her master. While confusion still runs rampant on the field about the identity of the two individuals, Flay wastes no time at all. Announcing that she is about to reduce every one of them to cinders, the lady hurls a ball of fire towards the robbers. Haruto can't believe that she has done this, questioning if Flay was even listening to him earlier about holding her horses. The group of thieves runs around in the hot flames, making the Black Knight panic that they are going to burn up. Left with no choice, Haruto brings out a barrier cube. Telling Flay to stay, he throws the protective shield at the robbers to stop them from getting hurt. The Crimson Knight's maniacal laughter comes to a halt, as her victims are no longer jumping around getting burned. Frustrated that her attacks aren't working anymore, Flay brings forth even bigger balls of fire. Thankfully, Haruto whacks her like a mole just in time to make her stay. When the Crimson Knight calms down, the boy reminds her of their no graphic violence deal. Rubbing her head, Flay tells Haruto that she remembers but can't help considering anyone an enemy who gets in the way of her master. Ignoring the entire exchange, the maid goes back to harassing the robbers, making Haruto realize that his current approach isn't working with this bird brain. Patting his partner on the shoulder, Black Knight remarks that she has done enough. He instructs Flay to head back while he deals the final blow. Hearing this, the lady appreciates Haruto's kindness in sparing her a brutal sight, but wants to see it through. Losing his mind, the Black Mind just hopes that Flay leaves him alone. Sometime later, Char celebrates the partner's well-done manzag routine. Flay is more riled up than ever, hell-bent on burning her next foes to smithereens after not being of much help today because of something blocking her attacks. Haruto lies on the bed with his face sunk in the pillow, exhausted from the experience. One part of him never wants to go through something like this ever again, while his goofier side insists to give it another shot after seeing how happy it has made Char. While the girls chit-chat about what Flay's victory pose should be, the night fades away. with Haruto wondering when he can live his life peacefully as a recluse. Elsewhere, Prince Laius throws a tantrum. He can't believe that a mere level 2 like Haruto was able to humiliate him in such a manner. Right then, the prince's escort comes to take him out for the banquet. While Laius gets ready, he gets instructed by his escort to ask Princess Charlotte to join him in the next day's tour. Albeit rebelling against the idea at first, the boy eventually is coerced into doing as told by the stern man. Back over with Haruto, his robot copy and Char come back with food from the banquet. While he enjoys the delicious meal, the poor clone is at the end of his ropes, having been forced to do everything Haruto doesn't want to do. Being practically the same person, the robot copy bursts into tears and snuggles into bed. Char feels sorry for the poor guy, remarking that at least she will be there with him for the tour tomorrow. Confused, Haruto inquires why Char is going to the tour and gets informed that the prince invited her. Thinking that the prince is a weirdo with a thing for little girls, the boy looks towards his depleted clone. Concerned for both Char and the robot copy, Haruto decides to go to the tour himself. At night, he scouts out the route for the tour and notices a cult-like gathering trying to summon something. All dressed up as the Black Knight, Haruto asks the men what they are doing and if they have Gold's approval. However, this just turns the cult hostile towards him. Thinking that Haruto is one of Margrave's men, the leader of the group issues a command to eradicate the boy, and the cloaked men gladly comply. Faced with multiple magic circles, Haruto proclaims that there's no other choice. Leaping towards the moon to make for a cool shot, he quickly makes short work of the cult. Refusing to be done in there, the group leader summons a horde of skeleton soldiers, though this just makes the boy a tad bit excited as this is his first time seeing them in real life. Of course, this doesn't stop him from slashing up the skeleton's limb from limb. Nonetheless, due to their undead nature, the soldiers keep getting right back up. After a couple tries, Haruto sighs as this would drag on forever like this. Just then, he notices a red thing in each of their chests. Moments later, the skeletons stop attacking him and start terrorizing the cult instead. Left with no choice, the desperate leader summons a gigantic golem that destroys all the skeleton. Witnessing the monster's strength, the Black Knight begins to blush. Following this, the mighty golem strikes him with a punch that breaks through Haruto's defense, sending him flying off to a tree. The cult members celebrate, thinking that things are finally looking up. Crashing into the tree stump, Haruto stops fanboying and notices a red object in the golem's chest too. As it is the same one that the skeleton soldiers had, he dodges the monster's attack and summons a huge spike. Haruto then throws it in the red thing, making the golem turn on the cult too. Confused and questioning what's going on, the men run around, getting told by Haruto that it's his fault. Trying to stop the monster in its track, he drove in a stake-shaped barrier and overrode its magic formula. Having defeated the group, Black Knight begins interrogating their leader in a ruthless manner. Turns out the cult is with the Queen Consort's personal sonar unit. They were making preparations to attack the upcoming tour with summoned beasts. Furious, Haruto grabs the leader by his neck and asks what the end goal is. Trembling with fear, the man reveals that they have to assassinate Charlotte Senfis. Haruto is massively taken aback by this, baffled at why the Queen's consort would do such a thing. Continuing to spill secrets, the unit's leader announces that it is due to the fear of Char's magical aptitude surpassing even the Queen Consort someday. If she had the Margrave's backing, the kingdom would be split apart into two. The previous attacks on Gold, as well as Char and her mom, all were the Queen Consort's doing too. Filled with rage, Haruto remembers the time the wicked woman abandoned him. Convinced that she would resort to anything to protect her own status, he vows to make her pay for it. Haruto refuses to let anyone take away the people he loves, even if that person is his own biological mother. Pondering on how he will deal with her, the day of the tour, Char and Marianne try to cheer up the grumpy Prince Laius. Getting enraged even more, he asks Haruto what he did in their battle. Of course, the latter's self-augmentation explanation of telling himself to get strong doesn't make sense to them, and Laius just gets convinced that Haruto is a returned demon. When a human marries a demon, some demonic traits show in their offspring, something that would explain the boy's extraordinary strength. Though the conversation soon drifts off after the revelation that Haruto and Char bathe together. Later, the group arrives at their destination and enjoy the tour. Haruto separates from the children and talks with Gold, asking what he would do if the Queen Consort were after Char's life. Having already received hints about it from the Black Knight, Gold is convinced that the woman is out to obliterate them. Haruto wishes that someone as cruel as her disappears, getting told by his father that she is a necessary evil that keeps a civil war from occurring. 2 years before Haruto was born, Gizelot single-handedly took off the Demon King's head. Hailed as a hero, she became known as the Flash Princess and married the late King Joke. Now on her path to having the kingdom for herself, the woman is backed with a lot of influence. Gold then remarks that the queen's consort would only be overthrown if someone more powerful than her showed up. He has someone exceptional in mind, but she is far too young at the moment. Hearing this, Haruto vows to keep Char safe until she can become a powerful queen, after which he can enjoy his life as a shut-in. Afterwards, Flay insists that he let her bring him the queen consort's head for his past life. However, Haruto refuses, as it won't mean anything until he kills the woman with his own hands. Meeting up with Char, he decides that it's time for a mother-son reunion for the first time in a decade. The queen consort comfortably sits on her sofa, sipping some wine. Soldiers bow down before her, sweating with fear. With an unnerving tone, she inquires what excuse they have for failing this time. Barely getting his words together, the soldier's representative reveals that a man known as Black Knight is going after all the thieves in the border province. He presumes that this mysterious hero is also the one responsible for the downfall of the Sunward unit, and the ruthless Gizelot questions. Hearing this, the poor guy pinnacly swears to repay the Black Knight one day for this dishonor. Though, the lady couldn't care less. Throwing her wine on the man's face, she remarks that he is hopeless, given that this is the soldier's third failure. Gizelot can't wrap her head around the reason why they are having so much trouble assassinating one measly girl. There isn't a doubt in the lady's mind that Charlotte Zenfis will one day grow up to be a threat to her, wanting to get rid of the flower before it blooms. She wonders who could be under the Black Knight mask. What man would be reckless enough to get in the way of the Flash Princess? Picking up the holy sword that she used to slay the Demon King, Gizelot proclaims that maybe she should end the troublesome entity with her own hand. Just then, an ominous voice echoes in the lady's room, questioning if she wants to fight. Startled, her soldiers wield their swords and tell the Flash Princess to stay back. However, having their heads ensnared by the mysterious foe's cuboidal barriers, all the men fall unconscious to the ground in an instant. Coming out of the shadows while Flay lurks behind, the Black Knight announces his arrival. Seeing the man march in there like he owns the place, Gizelot questions how he managed to sneak in here. The area had been mounted with several layers of barriers, making it a remarkable feat. As the intruder announces that he just broke through those shoddy things, the queen consort is assured that he is the infamous Black Knight. Enraged that the man dares to get in her way, she summons 3 massive magic circles in a row, declaring that it's time to face the consequences of his actions. Alerted by the lady's ability, Haruto flinches. Using this opening, Gizelot moves 1 magic circle underneath the knight's feet and ensnares him in a dark fluid. Not waiting to be drowned, Haruto uses his signature cube barrier as a launching pad out of the bubble. The lady doesn't miss a beat, hitting him with the second magic circle. A barrage of ice shards hurls at the boy, who uses another barrier to block it. While the Black Knight gets impressed by the extremely fast synthesis, Gizelot uses the third and final magic to summon a mighty flame, seemingly making direct contact. Thinking that she has burned the Black Knight to ashes, the Flash Princess expresses how easy the fight was. Much to her dismay, the mysterious foe is unscathed even after taking all those attacks. Brushing himself off, Haruto expresses his jealousy that the lady is able to use all those elements aside from being an expert swordsman. Seeing this, Gizelot once again wonders who is behind the mask, though the boy doesn't even give her any time to think and launches a massive ray of energy at the lady. Despite managing to block it just in time, the latter gets extremely startled, having barely sensed the presence of the incoming attack. Seeing that his attack got stopped, Haruto announces that it's time to get serious. He unleashes a barrage of beams at Gizelot, forcing her to put up several barriers. Unable to believe that her foe possesses such enormous levels of mana, the queen consort worries that she is going to get exhausted before him. Backed into a corner, the lady feels that the Black Knight is a mightier foe than the Demon King himself. Running out of mana, Gizelot puts down her barriers and relies on the holy sword. She charges ahead, clashing swords with Haruto. After a trade of blows, the queen consort leaps into the air, crashing down the Black Knight. Albeit blocking the onslaught with his own blade, Haruto eventually gets pushed back by the sheer force of the attack. He lies on the ground, fighting for his life. On top of her foe, the crazed woman grins and bursts forth with an eerie bloodlust, announcing that no one can rival her swordsmanship. Gizelot self-proclaims to be the strongest in the world. Hearing these words, the Black Knight retaliates. With a single swing of his blade, he sends the holy sword flying, enveloped in an aura even more ominous than that of the Flash Princess. Haruto stands up and tells the insane woman that it's time for her punishment. A metal collar appears out of thin air, placing itself around Gizelot's neck. In an utterly pathetic state, she tries to remove it, getting told to say goodbye to her head if she goes through with the attempt. Defeated and humiliated, the lady questions what her enemy looks to accomplish. The Black Knight reveals that he doesn't care about her little schemes, having just one demand to make. She isn't to lay a single finger on Margrave Gold Zenfis, his family, or his province. Kneeling to the ground, Haruto makes a chilling declaration. Until the day he sees fit to forgive Gizelot, the collar won't come off. As for the lady's fate, in case she defies his commands, the outcome goes without saying. Having finished his business, the Black Knight bids the lady farewell. As Haruto walks off, Giselot bursts into a maniacal laughter, and then tears. Practically becoming a slave, she rubs her knees against the ground. Left in utter pain and agony, marching through the castle halls, Flay commends Haruto for a job well done. The latter announces that this should ensure peace for the time being, but that he won't be merciful if the time to act comes again. Expecting nothing less of her master, the demon Fenrir eagerly awaits the day that his renaissance will come to pass. And so, 5 years pass uneventfully. Haruto, Flay, and Char wander about in a snow-laden forest, while the boy wants to do nothing more than stay in his room as his 15th birthday approaches. The little girl continues to be a hopeless animetaku, while the crimson-haired maid stays being proficient at worthless things. After a bit of their regular shenanigans, Char tells Haruto that she thought up an attack for this day that uses snow. However, as she is unable to use it herself, the girl wants her brother to use it for her. Unable to say no to his adorable little sister, Haruto gets coerced into it, making Flay jealous. Getting whispered how the attack is supposed to work, the boy walks out into the snow and lifts up his palm. Suddenly, a massive snow tornado forms above his head. Making some embarrassing poses and saying equally embarrassing lines, Haruto announces the ability, Bloody Iceberg. The massive block of ice smashes into the ground, shattering the surrounding. Impressing the girls and himself, the boy thinks that even doing something so embarrassing was worth it to make Char happy. As he gets hugged by his little sister, the realization hits Haruto. He gets roped into doing this all the time. Just then, their parents arrive there. While the grown-ups observe the massive hole in the ground from the bloody iceberg, Haruto and Char get worried that his secret identity will be revealed. Going all or nothing, the boy summons his robot copy in Black Knight's attire. As the clone flies off, Haruto convinces his parents that it was all the Knight's doing, who just happened to be passing by and showed them his special attack. Later, the boy asks Gold if there have been any incidents lately. The man reveals that there has been no meddling from the Empire, and the Queen Consort hasn't appeared before the public for a few years after rumors of the slaved collar. With everything finally smooth sailing, Haruto celebrates being able to live a fulfilling life of a shut-in after all this time. Trying to sneak back to his room, the boy gets informed by Gold that he will start attending school in the royal capital starting spring. There are complicated factors at play, and the Margrave couldn't get him out of it despite trying. Gold remarks that he will tell Haruto the details later, getting met with utter refusal. Falling to the ground, depressed, the boy doesn't want to go back to the place he detested all his past life, especially just when his ideal lifestyle was within grasp. While Gold worries about what's happening with Haruto, the latter vows to eradicate all these factors his father spoke of. No matter what it takes, he is going to hole up in his room. Later, Gold reveals that there is no way for Haruto to get out of this one since there's a recommendation letter for him by King Joke. The Margrave guesses that it is a request from the king's daughter, Princess Marianne, who took an interest in the boy after the tour. Prince Elias will also be enrolling in the same elite school, and King Joke wants the boys to get along, albeit worrying that the Queen Consort might have plotted something and coerced Princess Marianne. Gold still wants Haruto to go and see what the greater world has to offer as his father. Not wanting to cause any problems for his dad that took him in when he had no place to go, the boy agrees to go. Thanking his son for being understanding, Gold suggests that he take an attendant as living in an unfamiliar place won't be easy. As Flay isn't an option, the Margrave offers to prepare a list of candidates. However, Haruto doesn't want to live with a stranger. Overhearing the conversation, his doting mom offers to go with him, getting completely shut down. With 3 months still left to enroll, the boy is to find someone himself. Of course, Haruto doesn't plan on attending so easily despite accepting, and so he launches Operation Make Sure I Don't Go to School. Since Haruto's robot copy can't use magic, he wants to use him to get expelled based on the lack of ability, blaming the king for misjudging his abilities in the letter of recommendation. Upon being asked why he can't do it himself, Haruto remarks that he might end up getting into a fight with delinquents and accidentally show his barrier magic. Thinking that he is just getting sent to die to bullies, the robot copy starts having a mental breakdown. Haruto assures him that he will guard him with a barrier, but he has to carry out the mission. Wanting to live the same shut-in life as the original, the clone finally comes around and agrees. Sometime later, Haruto plays video games in his faraway lakeside loghouse that he spent 5 years building as his final shut-in destination. Unlike the castle, no one can interrupt him here, or so Haruto originally thought. Even here, he can't escape the clutches of Flay and Char. Seeing his little sister sad at not being able to watch Anon with him anymore back at the castle, the boy decides to spare her the perilous journey getting there every time. In an experiment that involved a lot of screaming and complaining from the robot copy at the hands of Flay, Haruto succeeds in using his teleport magic on living creatures, and so he breaks through to create a door to and from the castle and the lakeside longhouse. Now, all that's left is for Haruto to find an attendant. The end. For now. Thanks for watching. If you like this recap, please consider to like and subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell to be notified of any new recap. And while you're at it, check out this new recap appearing on the screen.